In the coldest part of the galaxy, far beyond human colonies, there was a prison made of dark ice. It floated in space like a silent rock. Hidden from the eyes of the universe, this prison did not hold many. Just one, she was not like others. Some said she was a weapon, some called her a curse, and many believed she was not alive at all. Her name was unknown. The guards called her the Silent Curse. She stayed in a glass chamber, frozen, still, unmoving for years. No one dared to go near her except for feeding bots and cleaning drones. Even they came shaking and left quickly. Strange things always happened near her cell. Lights flickered, machines jammed, and sometimes voices whispered from nowhere. So the command ordered, never speak to her, never touch her, never look her in the eyes, and no one ever did. Then came Corvin, a human soldier, once a hero in the war, now forgotten. He had lost a leg and had been replaced with a cyber one. The army no longer needed him, so they sent him here to the edge of nowhere, to guard the cold prison of a creature no one understood. His job was simple: deliver food trays to the prisoners. But there was only one tray for only one prisoner each day. He pushed the tray through a slot in her cell without a word. The chamber was cold, covered in ice and silence. On his third day, Corvin stayed longer. He looked at her, truly looked. She sat in the center, her body still, her eyes closed. She looked almost human, but something was wrong. Her skin was pale like snow, her hair moved slowly as if floating in water, and her arms were wrapped around her knees. Like a child scared of the dark, Corvin whispered, "What are you?" She didn't move, but the lights above him flickered. The silence answered him back. He smiled a little, not sure why, and left. The next day he returned, this time with a paper and pencil. He drew a small bird and slid it through the food slot. She didn't react, but her eyes opened slowly. They were silver, not glowing, not dead, just full of silence. Corvin sat on the floor outside the glass. He began talking, telling her about his life, his past battles, the pain in his leg, how he lost his team in the war. She listened, or maybe she didn't. But he kept talking anyway. Guards laughed at him. "You think she's a girl? She's a bomb with a heartbeat," they said. Corvin didn't care. He saw something no one else did. Not power, not danger, but pain. She looked like someone who had been alone for too long. That night, something strange happened. The guard who had mocked Corvin earlier slipped on the floor near her chamber. His skin froze even though the heater was on. He was found unconscious with ice crystals in his eyes. People whispered again. The curse woke up. But Corvin wasn't afraid. He returned again the next day and again and again. He spoke to her like she was human. Not a monster, he didn't expect anything. But something began to change. Her eyes followed him as he moved. The ice in her room seemed thinner, and the cold didn't hurt him anymore when he sat close to her glass. On the seventh day, Corvin brought a tiny music box. He placed it outside her chamber and turned it on. A soft tune played, a lullaby. She blinked, slow and steady. Then, for the first time, she moved. Her hand reached out, not far, just an inch. But the air around her hand shimmered like light through water. Corvin didn't flinch, he whispered, "Do you like the song?" The music stopped. The silence was deep again. But something inside Corvin told him she had heard him. Not just with her ears, but with her heart. He stood up and said, "You don't have to be alone." As he walked away, her eyes followed him for the first time. And then, just before the lights dimmed for the night, she blinked. Slowly, gently, like a message, Corvin smiled. Even though no one believed him, he had seen it. She was not a monster. She was waking up. The prison halls were always quiet, but today the silence felt heavier. Corvin walked slowly toward her chamber, holding the music box in his hand. It was still playing the soft lullaby she had heard the night before. He didn't know why he brought it back. He just felt like she needed it. The guards looked at him with strange eyes. "Still talking to the ghost?" One said, "She's not a ghost," Corvin replied calmly. "She's listening." They laughed behind his back, but Corvin didn't care anymore. He reached her cell and sat down just like before. She was sitting the same way too, arms around her knees. Eyes closed, but something was different. The ice on the glass didn't form the same way. It used to be thick and sharp, now it was thin, like mist. Corvin placed the music box near the wall and let it play. He didn't speak at first, he just listened to the sound, to the silence, to the feeling in the air, and then he heard it, a voice soft as wind, gentle as sleep. "Why, do you come?" Corvin froze. His breath caught in his throat. He looked up at the glass and her eyes were open, looking straight at him. "I come because I don't want you to be alone," he said slowly. There was silence again, but it was not empty. It was full of something. Thoughts, emotions, something he couldn't explain. "You are not afraid," she said. Her voice was like music wrapped in sadness. It didn't echo like a normal voice. It touched his mind like a soft wave. "No," Corvin replied. "I used to fear things I didn't understand. But now, I understand a little." She blinked slowly. The ice on the glass melted more, forming little drops. Corvin leaned closer, not touching the glass, but near it. "What is your name?" he asked. "I have no name," she replied. "They called me weapon, curse, error." "Then I will give you a name," he said, smiling. "Would you like that?" She looked down, then slowly nodded. That small movement made the light above them grow brighter. She was not just listening, she was connecting. "Until we find a better one," Corvin said. "I will call you Lyra. It means light from the sky." Her lips moved slowly, forming the sound. "Lyra," she whispered, like it was the first time her mouth tasted a word. Suddenly, the glass wall between them shimmered. Like heat waves on a road, it shook and hummed softly. Corvin jumped back, afraid he had triggered something. But the feeling that came after was warm, not cold. "Did you do that?" he asked. She didn't answer, but he knew. She had responded to the name. She had accepted it. Later that day, something strange happened. Corvin went to the medbay to fix a scratch on his arm. The doctor scanned his body and frowned. "Your old injury. It's gone," the doctor said. "Your tissue looks brand new." Corvin didn't understand. The only thing different was that he had been near Lyra. Was it her presence? Her power? Or something else? That night, in the security room, a young guard whispered to his friend, "I heard the lights near her cell are always warm now." "That's impossible," said the other. "Her chamber is below freezing." Still, people started noticing. Drones stopped malfunctioning near her door. The air didn't feel heavy anymore. One cleaner even said he heard a hum like a song when walking past. But not everyone was happy. Warden Cray, the one who ordered her locked for life, grew suspicious. "She is waking," he told the command council, "and she must not be allowed to speak." They gave him silent approval. That night, Corvin returned to the cell again. He sat with the music box and spoke softly to Lyra, telling her stories from Earth. About birds, mountains, and oceans, she listened in silence. But when he mentioned the word home, something happened. A small glow appeared inside her cell, soft and gold like the light of a candle. It danced around her body, not hurting her, just floating. She closed her eyes and smiled. A real, tiny smile. Corvin felt tears in his own eyes. She was not a monster. She was something the world had broken. And now, slowly, she was learning to feel again. But behind the walls, Warden Cray watched through hidden cameras. His jaw tight, his eyes full of hate. "This ends tomorrow," he said coldly. "She dies before she becomes more than a weapon." The stars outside the prison were silent. But inside, a storm was waiting to begin. Corvin walked through the hallway with 2 cups of hot synth tea, one for himself and one he always placed near the glass wall for Lyra. She never drank it, but he still brought it to him. It was a symbol, a small sign of care. He reached her chamber, but something felt wrong. The hallway lights flickered, not like usual, but with a sharp buzz. He stopped walking. The air felt thick, like breathing through water. Suddenly, all the lights shut off. Everything went dark. A red emergency glow lit the hallway, and loud alarms began to scream. "Beep, beep, beep, containment breach detected," the system shouted. Guards ran past him. Shouting and holding shock rifles, Corvin's heart pounded. He looked toward Lyra's chamber, and the door was open. No one had ever opened that door in 20 years. He dropped the cups and ran, ignoring the sparks from the ceiling. When he reached the chamber, what he saw made him stop completely. She was standing. Chains on her arms were broken and lay like melted wires on the floor. Her eyes were glowing, silver and bright, hair floating as if underwater, her body glowing with soft golden light. But she wasn't angry, she wasn't screaming, she was calm. Corvin stepped inside the cell without thinking. She turned to him slowly, her glow dimming slightly. "You should not be here," she said softly. "I told you," Corvin replied. "I'm not afraid." Suddenly, a voice shouted behind them, "Step away from the subject!" Warden Cray and 2 soldiers pointed rifles at her from the hallway. She broke out. "Kill her now," Cray yelled. Lyra didn't move, but her light began to pulse. Not wild, Just sad. Corvin stepped in front of her, arms raised. No, she didn't hurt anyone. The power went out by accident. She's not attacking. She doesn't need to, Cray said coldly. She is the weapon. Corvin shook his head. She has a name. Her name is Lyra. Cray's face twisted with rage. She's controlling you. Human. She gets inside your head and makes you feel pity. But she will kill us all. He gave the order. Fire. The soldiers hesitated. One aimed and fired a bolt straight at Lyra. Corvin didn't think. He jumped back and covered her with his own body. The bolt hit his shoulder, sending burning pain through his arm. He collapsed to the ground. Groaning, Lyra looked down at him, eyes wide, her hands glowing brighter now. She knelt beside him, her long fingers glowing like soft stars. Why? She whispered, why protect me? Corvin's breath was shaky. Because no one ever protected you. You're not the monster here. She placed her hand gently on his wound. The pain faded, the skin healed before his eyes. Even his torn uniform mended itself. Cray shouted again, Stay back! Stay back, or I will blow this whole wing apart. He raised a device, a hand detonator connected to the emergency core. If I press this, you all turn to dust, he yelled. Corvin stood up slowly. Blood gone, pain gone, Lyra stepped forward, but her glow softened again. I do not wish to harm, she said gently, but I will not hide anymore. Cray's thumb moved to press the button. In that moment, the walls shook violently. Not from bombs, not from machines, from her. The floor cracked, light poured through her skin like sunrise. One of the guards screamed and ran. The other dropped his rifle, falling to his knees. Cray pressed the detonator. Nothing happened. He looked at it in horror. It had melted in his hand. Lyra raised her palm slowly. Your weapons mean nothing to me. But your fear feeds the chains you put on me. The lights in the prison exploded, not in fire, but in wind and song. The air shimmered like starlight and every system shut down. Then silence, no alarms, no voices, no guns. Only Lyra standing in the center of her old prison. Not bound, not frozen. Alive. Corvin looked at her, speechless. He realized she didn't need revenge. She only needed someone to believe in her. I'm with you, he said quietly, no matter what happens next. She turned to him, and for the first time her eyes smiled. Not her lips. Her eyes. They were no longer cold silver. They were warm, like stars after a long storm. The prison was silent after the blast of light. Systems were dead, alarms quiet, guards gone. Only two people stood in the ruins of the cell, Corvin and Lyra. She was still glowing softly. Her body floated just a little above the broken floor, hair moving like it was underwater, eyes no longer cold but still unreadable. Corvin held his side where pain had once been, but there was no blood, no wound. Only clean skin and a fast heartbeat. He stared at her, speechless, unsure if he was standing next to a miracle, or something even stranger. Lyra looked down at him, her voice soft. You stayed, she said. You took pain for me, Corvin nodded slowly. I couldn't let them destroy you, he whispered. You saved me once. I had to save you back. She lowered her feet gently to the ground. The glow around her body faded into soft silver threads. Then she turned and began walking down the hallway. Barefoot, calm, quiet, where are you going? Corvin asked, following her. I need to show you, she said. Now that I remember who I am. They moved through the ruined halls. No guard stopped them. No one dared. They passed walls where vines of soft blue light began to grow. Where she walked, the cold vanished, replaced by strange warmth. She led him to the old medical wing, a place long abandoned and covered in dust. With a wave of her hand, the doors opened. The screens inside flickered to life, powered by nothing but her presence. This is where I was created, she said. Corvin blinked. Created? Lyra nodded. I was not born. I was made, designed by a race that no longer exists. The screen showed images, glowing blueprints of a strange form. Her form, symbols and languages Corvin couldn't read floated across the display. They wanted a protector, she continued. A being who could end wars, heal wounds, calm fear. But their leaders grew greedy. They asked me to destroy, she said quietly. But I refused. Corvin watched her closely. You said no? Yes, she whispered, and for that, they locked me away. They feared me because I chose peace. Corvin's hands clenched. All this time. They called you a weapon. But you were built for healing, for helping. Lyra turned to face him. Her eyes were glowing again, but this time with soft tears. I didn't understand pain until I saw yours. I didn't understand kindness until you spoke to me. You woke something in me. Corvin, she said, I am not just machine, not just energy. I feel. Corvin stepped closer. Then you're more alive than most people I know. Suddenly, the screens behind them turned red. A warning flashed: incoming Transport Council enforcers. They're coming for you, Corvin said. Lyra nodded slowly. They will not allow me to exist, she said. They fear what I can do. Then we'll leave, Corvin said quickly. There has to be an escape pod, but Lyra shook her head. They will find me no matter where I go. My energy leaves a mark across space, Corvin paced, thinking fast. There must be something we can do. Something to make them see who you really are. Lyra looked at her hands, glowing softly. I was made to reflect emotion, she said. When others fear, I become destruction. When they care, I become light, Corvin understood. You're a mirror, he said. You reflect what people give you, she nodded. That is my truth. Then she turned to him again. But you saw me as more than that. You gave me a name, not a label. Corvin stepped forward. Then let me show them too. Let me speak for you. You'll be hunted, she warned. You'll be hated. I already was, Corvin replied with a soft smile. But now I have a reason to stand. Just then the floor shook. A ship had landed. Heavy boots marched above them. Council soldiers had arrived. Corvin looked at her and held out his hand. You trusted me once, he said. Do it again. She reached out, her fingers glowing, trembling. When their hands touched, the room filled with light. But it was not dangerous. It was warm, clear, alive. For the first time, she looked human, not in shape, but in soul. She closed her eyes and whispered, Then let the world see what I truly am. Heavy boots slammed against the cold metal floors above. The sound echoed through the broken prison like thunder. Council soldiers had arrived, fast, quiet, and ready to destroy. Corvin and Lyra stood in the old medical wing. The screens behind them flashed red, showing maps and heat signatures. They were surrounded. There was no time to hide. No place left to run. Corvin turned to her. We don't fight them with power, he said. We fight them with truth. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. I'm afraid, she whispered. Corvin nodded. I am too, but I won't let them hurt you. They left the room together. Step by step, they moved through the damaged halls. Lights sparked as they walked. The walls seemed to hum softly, like they were listening. As they neared the entrance bay, voices became clear. Secure the target, one soldier barked. Shoot on sight if she resists, another answered. Corvin stopped at the edge of the hallway. Lyra stayed behind him. The soldiers turned and raised their weapons. Step aside, human. The captain ordered. She is a Class A galactic threat. Corvin lifted his hands. She hasn't hurt anyone, he said calmly.
She saved me. The soldiers didn't lower their guns.
One of them stepped forward. She's manipulating you, he growled. She's a mind virus wrapped in pretty skin. Corvin shook his head. She's real. She feels, she thinks, she cries. Her name is Lyra. The captain raised his blaster. I won't say it again, he warned. Move. Or die with her. Corvin didn't move. Instead, he stepped forward, arms wide. Then you'll have to shoot through me first, he said firmly. The soldiers hesitated. One looked confused. The other looked angry, but the captain didn't blink. He fired. The bolt shot forward like fire. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Lyra's body reacted before thought. She moved faster than the eye could follow. Her glowing arms swept in front of Corvin. The blast hit her directly. A loud crack echoed through the hallway. Light exploded from her chest like a wave. But when it faded, she was still standing unhurt. The blast didn't destroy her. It disappeared inside her. The soldiers stared, confused and afraid. What is she? One whispered. Lyra stepped forward. I am not what they told you, she said. I am not your weapon, not your fear. I am what you bring to me. She raised her hands. Palms open, golden light flowed from her fingertips. It reached the soldiers not to burn, but to show. Images flickered in the air. Memories from Corvin's mind. Lyra alone in the glass cell. Lyra healing his wounds. Lyra smiling at the name he gave her. The soldiers lowered their weapons slowly. Their captain shook his head. "It's a trick," he hissed. "No," one soldier said. "I felt it. She's not lying." Corvin stepped forward again. "She reflects what we give her," he said. "If we treat her like a monster, she becomes one. But if we treat her like a person, she becomes something beautiful." The hallway was silent. Even the walls seemed to pause. Then a voice came from the communicator on the captain's wrist. "Council watching live feed," it said. "Orders changed. Do not engage." The captain's face twisted with confusion. "What?" "She's a target. Why stop now?" "Because the galaxy is watching," the voice replied. "And they're not seeing a weapon. They're seeing a human shielding a broken soul." The captain lowered his gun at last. He turned and walked away without another word. The other soldiers followed, some still looking back at Lyra with wonder in their eyes. Lyra turned to Corvin. "You stood between me and death," she said quietly. He looked at her with a soft smile. "And you stood between me and emptiness for a while." They just stood there in silence, no chains, no prison, no lies. Just a strange peace in a place made for fear. Then a voice came again through the comms. "Council requests live meeting. Both subjects to appear in person for full judgment." Corvin's eyes met Lyra's. "This isn't over," he said. "No," she replied. "It's just beginning." The Galactic Council building floated above a glowing city of lights. It was shaped like a crystal star, shining in the skies of a neutral planet inside. Thousands of beings from different worlds gathered to witness something never seen before. A trial not of war or crime, but of truth. Corvin stood in the center of the council chamber. Next to him stood Lyra, dressed in a long silver robe that moved like smoke. Her glow was dimmed by choice, not fear, not weakness, just respect. Around them, tall seats rose in a circle, each one holding a council elder. Some were insect-like, others reptilian. Some shimmered with no form at all. They all looked down at Lyra with cold, curious eyes. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Begin record of Session 70X9. Subject sentient weapon, known as the Silent Curse. Witness human male, Corvin Jalen." A tall elder leaned forward, eyes glowing blue. "You claim this creature, created as a weapon, is alive. You claim she has soul, reason, and peace." Corvin nodded. "Yes," he said firmly. "She saved my life," another counselor hissed. "She destroyed a high-security prison. She disabled weapons without touching them. She manipulated energy, bent light, healed flesh." Corvin stepped forward. "She didn't destroy it out of hate," he said. "She broke free because you caged her like a monster. She never attacked," he added. "She only defended?" Lyra stayed silent beside him. Not out of fear, but because Corvin's words were her voice now. One elder leaned back and spoke to the others. "The galaxy has seen the footage. Public opinion is split. Some call her a goddess. Others still call her a threat. Let her speak," one counselor said. The lights dimmed and all eyes turned to Lyra. She stepped forward slowly. Her voice was soft, but it filled the entire chamber. "I was made to protect," she said. "But I was ordered to destroy. When I refused, I was locked away. You feared my power," she continued. "But none of you asked me what I wanted." The elders said nothing. So she raised her hand and let it glow, not with fire, not with lightning, just a gentle light. It filled the room with warmth. Then she said, "This is what I carry. I reflect what you bring. Fear me, and I become fear. Trust me, and I become hope." She looked at Corvin, then at the crowd. "I am not here to rule," she said. "I only want to live." Whispers filled the chamber. Some elders looked moved, others looked angry. A vote was called. The chamber went dark as each elder cast their judgment. Red for exile, green for freedom, yellow for containment. Corvin waited, heart pounding. Lyra stood still, eyes closed, accepting whatever would come. Then the lights returned. A single voice echoed, deep, final. By majority vote, it said, "The being known as Lyra shall not be destroyed. She shall not be imprisoned." Gasps filled the chamber. "She will be allowed to live among humans," the voice said. "But under constant observation." Corvin sighed in relief. Lyra opened her eyes, no glow, just peace. Another elder added, "Your life will not be easy. Some will love you. Many will still fear you." Lyra nodded. "I know," she said. "But even light must grow in darkness." As they were escorted out, reporters from across the galaxy gathered. Flashes of light, voices asking questions. "Do you plan to lead? Are you in love with the human? Are you still dangerous?" Lyra answered only one. A small alien girl with wide eyes asked, Do you dream? Lyra smiled. I didn't, she said. But now, I do. Back on Earth, the skies were quiet. The world was still unsure what to believe. But when Lyra stepped onto the soil holding Corvin's hand, a crowd waited, not with guns but with flowers. A child ran up to her and gave her a white stone. It's smooth like you, the child said. Lyra touched it gently and it glowed. The crowd clapped softly, a beginning, not an ending. The skies above Earth were gray the day Lyra returned, not with warships or noise, but in a small shuttle, quiet and silver, like the clouds themselves. She stepped out slowly. Her silver robe moving with the wind, Corvin walked beside her, calm but alert. His face was known now, broadcast across stars. The human who stood between death and the girl the galaxy once feared. There were no soldiers waiting, no weapons raised, just people, families, journalists, children, old veterans, all standing behind a quiet rope line, unsure what to do. No one spoke until a little girl stepped forward. She held a white flower in her hand. She looked up at Lyra, trembling. Then slowly, she placed the flower near Lyra's foot and whispered, "Welcome home." Lyra knelt, touched the flower gently, and it bloomed, bright and glowing. As if kissed by light, the people gasped softly. But no one ran. The moment passed, and so began the quiet days. Lyra was given a home far from the cities, a small garden house near the mountains. The council placed watchers nearby, not as jailers, but guardians. Even they soon found little to fear. She spent her mornings sitting in the garden, watching birds land on her hands. Sometimes the air around her shimmered, but it was soft, never loud. Corvin visited every week. He brought tea, books, and questions. They talked for hours about small things, cloud shapes, colors, dreams. One day, Corvin found her planting tiny glowing flowers in the soil. They help the earth heal, she said, even things you can't see. Corvin smiled. Like you, news of her peaceful life spread slowly. People began to walk the long road to her home. Some brought gifts, some brought songs, others brought pain. A soldier once knelt before her and said, "I lost my brother in the prison years ago. I came to hate you, but now, I see you were alone too." Lyra didn't reply. She only reached out and touched his shoulder. The man wept and his anger melted like snow in spring. She never gave speeches, never asked for praise, but the world watched her and learned. They saw her carry injured animals, fix broken garden tools with her touch, and once, she held a dying tree for hours until green returned to its bark. Children loved her most. They said her voice sounded like lullabies. They drew pictures of her with stars in her hands. Then came the day she visited the council again. Not as a prisoner, but as a guest, she stood in the great chamber, the same place where her fate had once been debated. Now she spoke without fear. "I have no kingdom," she said, "no flag, no army. But I offer something your weapons cannot make. Peace that starts with trust." The council listened, not with fear, but with quiet respect. After that, something changed. Other planets began asking her to visit, not to solve their wars, but to remind them what healing looks like. But Lyra never stayed long. She always returned to her garden, where she planted new life and listened to the wind. One day, as the sun set, Corvin sat beside her. The mountains were painted gold, and the flowers glowed softly in the dusk. "Do you still hear the fear?" he asked gently. Lyra nodded. "It's quieter now," she replied. "But it never fully leaves." Corvin placed a hand over hers. "That's what makes you strong," he said. "You hear the fear, but you don't become it." She looked at him, eyes soft, glowing only a little. "I used to dream of silence," she said. "Now I dream of voices, not shouting, but laughing." A small pause passed between them. Then Lyra said something she had never said before. "Thank you for touching me when the world wouldn't." Corvin didn't answer with words. He only squeezed her hand gently from far above. Satellites recorded the moment. Two figures sitting side by side in a glowing field. No chains, no prison, no fear. The galaxy watched, and in quiet ways, in tiny choices. Kind gestures, small risks, they changed. They remembered that even the most feared being could be more than a weapon, if only someone dared to reach out first.